What's up, guys? Today I'm drawing Invincible as if he was in the game Marvel Rivals. Me and the boys, we spun a wheel. So there was Omni-Man, Battle Beast, and Invincible. And I landed on Invincible. Now that's the character that I get to draw. So I'll cover the pose, the 3D rendering, the colors, and give you guys some overall insights of my process when designing some concept art for a character. Then after that, I'll reveal it to the boys and we'll talk about if he does in fact fit into the universe of Marvel Rivals and what he'd actually play like in the game. So with that being said, let's get into it.
Okay, as per usual, we're starting with the anatomy sketch here for Invincible. Now, I did take some shortcuts on this one. When you do concept art, if you can find a more efficient way to do something, I always say do it. So essentially this whole flying pose here, I've basically referenced straight from the Human Torch. Now, the Human Torch had a bit more of an angle and then he had a different head. So I essentially just used the body and then redrew my own version of Mark's head for Invincible. Because, you know, Invincible is a flying character and I feel like that's quite a strong pose for that. So I thought that'd be perfect. Now, what we want to do is create some armor, which I'll explain the thought process while I'm doing it. And then, we'll see if we can make him look like he can fit into the Marvel Rivals universe. Okay, so after about 2 hours of working on Mark's suit, I feel like it's at a pretty good point. There's probably still a couple small things that I'm not completely sold on. Like, I know in the comics he has these like floating knee pads that sort of go up past the knee over the quad. I think I might change them because I was initially going to go for the yellow and blue suit, but I think after watching the later season of Invincible, I want to go for the blue and the black suit, where he doesn't have those knee pads. So it's just a small thing, but I thought it'd be pretty cool to make it match the suit in the comics. After spending a little bit more time on the suit, I just made a few small tweaks. Now, if I turn this layer on here, you can see it's only minor things, but I feel like they add to the overall aesthetic. Okay, so if I turn off the initial one, you can see that I've increased the size of the shoulder pads, because that's something that they like to do on Marvel Rivals. They all have these big beefy shoulders. Just some small extra little design elements, like these little lines that go throughout the suit. And you can see also down here, I actually took off that floating knee pad and just made more of a shin guard that matches, you know, the guards on the quads and the guards on the forearms, etc. So I'm picturing that like all the hard armor sections will be, you know, a metallic blue, like the chest plate, down through the abs and things like that. And then all of the like fiber-ish kind of sections, they'll be that black or like dark gray in the suit. And I think once we combine both of those colors, it's going to look really cool. Now, one of the design elements that I really liked was this section here on the chest. Now, in the comics, he has like a U section there that's basically just a color separation, but I wanted it to be something a little bit more, a bit more of a feature. So it was kind of like this clip here that holds the belt across the chest, which links onto the shoulder armor and, you know, up onto the traps. So just a little bit of intricate design work there, which I thought helps the overall look. And yeah, I think with this type of armor, he will be able to punch on with some other Viltrumites without getting his uniform shredded every single time. Now let's go into the next part of the process, where normally on my other characters, I've gone straight into the refined line work. So I've turned this layer, turn it down to like 50% like that, and then go over the top and really crisp up those lines. But I want to try something a little bit different for this one, where I actually start to do the grayscale rendering with the lines. So it's actually painted together, and then at the end, add some refined lines on top, which I believe that's how Marvel Rivals have been doing their concept art characters. So just another step where I'm trying to get it a little bit closer to how they do it each time. Okay, so the first part of the process is I've actually turned the line art down 50% opacity. So it's gone from a black to a grey. And then I've actually merged it with that grey silhouette in the background. So that's actually one layer. So if I paint, you know, over that, it paints over the grey and the line work. Now, the reason I've done that is so I can render it all together and almost get rid of the line work. You might see little small traces of it by the end, but I want to sort of make it a rendered painting and then add some line work on the top. Now, the first step that I do is adding the rim light. Now, if you watch some of my other videos, you'll see how I do the rim light, which basically I get this hard white color, and then make sure on the background, you know, you don't want to go stark white when you're doing this because you lose where the rim light is. So just put a gray or a color, anything there really. And then I could show you how I will do the rim light. Now, to make it a bit easier, I'll show you guys the planes of the face, how I would draw, because I've already done the rim light on the rest of his body. So imagine that face is like a square. So that's the front of Mark's face. You have the hair. Side of the head, the ear, the neck. Okay, so that's a very basic way of drawing someone's head. It's just a bunch of warped cubes on top of each other, but it does help a lot when you're shading. So say the rim light is coming from this direction. Okay, all of this plane, so like the ear, the side of the face, the hair, and that bit sort of curves, so it's going to curve over a little bit, and then the neck. All of those sections are going to be hit with the rim light. So I'll show you what that actually looks like on Invincible. Okay, so if we're going for that side, go all white down there. I'll explain how I did that cheek section in a second. Okay, there's the back of the neck. Now, the ear isn't flat to the face. It pops forward a little bit, so the light would probably only catch around the edges of the ear. The bit on the goggles is circular, so it'll probably catch just the edge of the goggles there. Now, with the hair, you could just cover that whole bit, but I think it might be a little bit more interesting to actually just put in chunks. When you're drawing hair, you want to draw it in chunks. You don't just want to have it in one big fat clump. Okay, so it's just going to make it more visually exciting. So all these chunks up here, just almost want to carve them out as if the light was hitting each individual little spiky section. And then have the light just wrapping around the back there. It's very thin. And I'll quickly explain the cheek bit here. Okay, so this bit here I've drawn like a rectangular cube, but the cheekbone actually comes in front a little bit. So eventually the face, once you get better with the faces, you realize there are a lot more planes than just four sides like a box. That cheek actually comes in a little bit. So that's why I've done the rim light down there. And then lots of superheroes, not me. When they tense their jaw, it creates a little bit of a crease in there. So that's why I've got that space there where I haven't done the light, because it's actually made a little bit of a shadow. But yeah, just definitely, if you're struggling with adding a light source to a character, definitely just look into some character models. You can go on somewhere like ArtStation, and they have lots of grayscale anatomy models that you can look at and just really start to study the planes of the face. And then you can draw it out. You can add a light source from top, from the side, wherever, and then start to add in your own light source. And the more dynamic you make the light source, the more visually exciting the face is going to look. Okay, now we have the rim light in. Now I want to show you my process of doing the rendering. Okay, so the first thing I'll actually do is copy Mark's whole body, and then I'll paste it on top as black. Okay, now after that we have it on a separate layer. We want to go to multiply and then go 50%. Okay, so that's with the shadow, that's without. So we've added a halftone shadow, and then essentially all we're doing, if we imagine there is a light source, let's say it's coming from, sort of top and to the side a little bit. If we're imagining this whole body is in shadow, we can start rendering the light out of it. Okay. So I'll just show you roughly how I do it. Now, obviously, you can't just be like, oh, here's a light source, let me just start rendering. Like, you do have to know how 3D forms work. So if you don't know that, just, like I said, go back, study basic shapes, and what they look like when the light hits them from certain angles. And you'll get a lot better and a lot faster at this style of rendering. Okay, so when I'm first starting, I just want it to be super rough, and I'm just imagining exactly where the light hits. This part can be pretty rough, like it does not have to be that clean, especially when I'm going through. Like I just like to essentially block in where all these light sections sit. Okay, so after about an hour or so of erasing out the light sections of the shadow, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. Okay, so I've just tried to make sure all these brighter sections, that's just where the light is hitting the hardest, okay? Obviously on the forehead, bits of the hair, down the nose bridge, chin, the bottom lip, pretty much the whole chest, things like that. So as you can see, it's still quite a bit rough, but after this, I'll go in and start to refine it and really clean up all the shapes and shadows and things like that. Now, the thing that I'll do after I add that first shadow value is add a second one that's slightly darker. So you can see like places under here, under the neck, that back shoulder arm, under the shoulder, lat and bicep there. Sections like the bottom of the knee, around the groin area, the back foot. They're actually all slightly a bit darker. So I just literally grab the soft round brush and I would, highlight what used to be the darker shadow color. And then I'd literally just shift it down, a little bit lower towards the darkest black. Now I'll do it over the top so you guys can see. Now that's obviously an overdone version, and that's even going into the rim light there, but you want to have your normal shadows, and then you want to have even darker shadows where it's just basically where the light can't really get. Means it's going to be the darkest parts in your character. It's going to add a little bit more realism and depth to the overall design. So after that, then we want to move on to this stage. Now, like I said earlier, I wanted to go for the blue and the black costume. So essentially I've just highlighted all of the darker sections and then just painted over with a multiply, maybe at like 20 or 30% opacity. So it doesn't go fully black, but you can definitely tell there's a separation between the two, which is going to help when we add color to Invincible. Okay, so just before we're going to get into refining the rendering to really make him look legit, I've added the gradient maps for the color. Now, if you don't know how to do gradient maps, you can check it out in my previous video where I drew Raphael from the Ninja Turtles, and we go over how to do each value for a gradient map. But essentially, this one was pretty quick. Like it's just a gray one and a blue one. So it didn't take much time at all. And then I have the skin color one saved, which you should also do if you're doing gradient maps. Make sure you save them. It's going to save you a hell of a lot more time in future when you're doing more characters. Okay, so basically we're at this point, and then we're going to, for the next, it might take 2 or 3 hours or whatever, but we're going to have zoomed in sections. And you can see I've already sort of started here on the head and just adding in all those cool Marvel Rivals details. Okay, so remember when you're shading, there's a lot of blockiness going on. There's a lot of these little stripes in there. A lot of slight value changes, which I think is something that a lot of younger artists might miss when they're digital painting. They might just use one section and go just the one hue of blue, where when you actually zoom into the Rivals artwork, you'll see lots of different hues of the same color. So if you don't know what hue is, it's like when I bring this up, right? We can go to hue, and that's blue, but you could go slightly to a darker blue. You go slightly towards the aqua and the greens. You know what I mean? And you can paint those in as well. And it's something that happens in real life too. Like every blue is not just blue. It's going to be made up of like slight purples and slight greens and grays and things like that. So at the end of the day, if you can add that color variation in, it's going to make your design a lot better. Okay, so I'll spend the next couple of hours rendering Invincible out and really refining the details. And then we'll get into the big reveal with the boys. Boys!
What's going on?
Hello. Doing good. I'm back from
Japan, and we have finished our Invincible artworks, and it was sick.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was pretty tricky. Like I did have fun drawing Invincible, and I love the show. It had the latest season hasn't finished yet, but I'm fucking really enjoying it. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I think we just get straight into it, and I might pull him up. What do you reckon?
Yeah, let's do it. Oh,
Dude. Hell yeah.
You went for the recent reskin.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
Are you up to date on the latest season or no?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so I was watching that, and he got the blue and black suit, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing it. I've done an art print before where he's got the yellow and blue, and I'm like, for this one, I was like, let's go blue and black. I think it looks slick as fuck.
Yeah, it does.
But you see what I was talking about, Mel? Like how you did the armored Omni-Man, and I sort of went with the armored, but not as chunky, which I feel like fits a duelist.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yours is a Vanguard. He looks a bit more like he can maneuver through the battlefield a bit quicker and things like that. So
This is thick.
Yeah, it is, man. Yeah, I like how you rendered all the armor and stuff. Really
Yeah, I
like
love
it.
that strap in the middle with like the things holding it. I love that.
yeah, so I was like, if you look at the comic book suit, like it's a very similar pattern system that goes through his suit, right? And that is just normally because he's all just skin tight. Normally, that's just like a shape there. But I was like, how can I make it more interesting than just like a shape? You know, so I added that belt that cuts through the blue, which I thought could be cool.
It's
And
clean.
yeah, like it took a while because it's like they're kind of like intricate little panels, and like all the quad muscles are almost like tubing. Like it's like
very fibrous legs there, of course.
yeah. Like some bits are pretty hectic, and then some bits like calm down a little bit with like way less detail.
This is like end game, like end of the series mark or Invincible that like has to go up against like 6 Viltrumites. So like art makes him like a full like decked out armor set.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of like my thought process too, because like in the show he's had to already face off against a few Viltrumites, and they most of them kicked his ass. And he's a lot stronger now, but what happens when it's like wartime, you know what I mean? And not to mention that every time he fights, his friggin' suit always gets shredded to pieces, and his goggles smash and everything.
Yeah.
So I was sort of hoping with this suit, whoever he's got it made from, maybe it's someone that's from a different planet or whatever, but it's like material that's not just going to shatter upon impact from like a Viltrumite punching him.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's going to be a lot stronger, therefore making him a lot more durable in battle. So
Yeah.
but no crazy lore or anything like that. I just want him to be more durable and stronger and faster.
It's just Invincible. I like it. It's
And like, I mean, realistically, we're making it for Marvel Rivals, so he just has to be able to beat the shit out of like, you know, Thor and like the Hulk and stuff like that. So
Yeah, exactly.
I think he definitely have a chance.
Is he like Wolverine, where he's more of like a tank shredder?
I'm not sure about the tank shredder. Like, I didn't have time to do the abilities page, but I definitely wanted him to be fast, be able to fly, and it was tricky because like Melvin got Omni-Man 2 and I got Invincible. They both are melee DPS, but they both fly, which as far as I know, we don't really have that in the game.
Yeah.
Like in the comics, yeah, Thor can fly, but in the game, all he does is like a dash. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Iron Man, but Iron Man's ranged and flies.
That's what I mean. Iron Man, the Human Torch, he's Storm, like they're all up in the sky and they're all shooting. Whereas, like, what does it actually look like to have a flying character that has to be right next to someone?
Yeah, like actually zipping around and stuff.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that the flight is more of a escaping ability. It's more to get away or to close the distance on someone running away from you.
Is it similar to Star-Lord?
Probably. But obviously Star-Lord shoots. So
yeah.
It'll be something similar to that, where it's like, you can either quickly get out or quickly get in, and then do your damage. Now, the idea that I had for the ultimate would be pretty funny, because so there was 2 that I was thinking of. In what the latest season, he does this crazy headbutt scene where I don't want to spoil it for someone who hasn't seen it. There's an enemy and he just headbutts the shit out of him.
he goes for a lunge, and if he grabs someone, he just holds him down and just goes, gosh.
And like the map around you breaks on each one, like leaving a headbutt crater. I thought that'd be maybe that's a bit too brutal for this game, but I thought that could be funny. Otherwise, almost like just like this super punch that when you connect, if there's like, it'll give you like a cone in front of you, and if people are in that sort of range, it'll hit them all, or maybe there's just one or whatever. But when you hit them, they fly back until they hit something. So they like until there's a wall or the edge of the map. They just keep going. I thought that'd be freaking funny as.
Is that as another ultimate?
Yeah,
Like
I was just deciding of that between the two.
Yeah,
so
cool.
I
I like that because like you can.
I thought that'd be hilarious.
You can crack some people just straight out the map.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's a lot of maps where there's just an edge next to the point. Just go, poosh.
It's like a horizontal Thor's ultimate.
Yeah, he slams down, but on this one you're pushing them all.
Perfect.
Horizontally across map.
Imagine you get Thor's that just goes doosh, and then Invincibles that just launches them sideways.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
There's so many different combinations. Like Doctor Strange again, knock everyone's souls out, they're all frozen, and then just poosh.
Yeah.
That would be cool, yeah.
I really enjoyed designing Invincible. Hopefully people like him, and like I said, I don't have the abilities page, so if people want to chime in the comments of what they think could be some of his attacks and his passive and ultimate, that'd be very interesting to see.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to see Rui's Battle Beast, which is insane, make sure you go over to his channel, check that out. And if you want to see the big tanked up Omni-Man that Melvin did, make sure you head over to his channel, check that one out. Now, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. If you're new around here, subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.